It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap, and now my favorite part of the show, wherein I guess what is in Tim's background today. I'm going to guess this week something a little bit different. That you've got a picture of black ice that you claim that you slipped on the other day. You didn't break anything, went to the emergency room, but they gave you some meds. You want me to represent you in a slip and fall case. And my answer to that, Tim, is no, I'm sorry, but you should recognize there is a statute of limitations. You have a certain amount of time in which to file a case. You're barred from proceeding. So if you want to protect your rights, please contact another attorney immediately. Do I have that right, Tim?
I didn't slip or fall. I don't want to lead a false impression.
Okay, it was a wild guess.
But
a wild guess.
There was a bit of a tragedy that happened. I don't know if you saw that Rahm Emanuel's house was there was an anti-Semitic attack, and I'm here outside. I'm here outside what I believe is Rahm Emanuel's house.
Well, you can't even fit half a swastika on that outhouse there. Is that where he's living in Japan right now? Oh, that's his Michigan home.
That's his Michigan. That's his Michigan vacation home.
Okay, there.
I believe I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, no, it looks very neat, nicely appointed, and a diminutive guy like Rahm could probably fit inside that house. Yeah, he was. His house apparently in Michigan was hit by what vandalism? Was it anti-Semitic vandalism? Am I right about that? Or
spray paint, I think.
Oh, spray painted. Yeah, which that's not good. But which does bring us to and I'm trying to work in our weekly Rahm joke about that. Is he still in Japan right now? Is he still he still is the ambassador to Japan though, right?
So yeah. He's still the tallest man in Japan.
Tallest man in Japan. That's why he got the job. Okay, so anyway, as far as Israel goes, and of course this changes from day to day, but I guess Blinken was telling the Israelis that they really don't have enough dead Jews in order to justify going into southern Gaza. So, if Hamas did help out a little bit, apparently they were taking credit for killing during the ceasefire, which doesn't count as a violation. 3 people at a bus stop in Jerusalem and injuring a number more. I mean, that just right before we were taping, I saw that. So, but that's not really a violation. They're
still investigating. It's not necessarily, they're not necessarily going to say it was a hate crime. It could have been
right. Well, it was anti-Zionist, not anti-Semitic. So distinction without a difference right there. So also among other things, the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree lighting was marred by a demonstration by the pro-Hamas side, and they even had signs up there, swastikas. That's a little bit of projection there, because, of course, the Palestinians, if you look at the history of the Palestinians, such as they are actually an entity and not the figment of somebody's imagination a number of decades ago, were liked Hitler. I mean, there's photographs of the Grand Mufti or whatever with Hitler himself. But
more than just like. It was more than just like. It was a little bit closer to the I heart you. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. But I actually once on Twitter, one of the things I love about Twitter, actually had a little correspondence with Godwin, the guy who came up with Godwin's law, which is that any discussion of politics will eventually devolve into an accusation that you're like Hitler. But here's the thing. I love, when the Palestinians accuse the Jews of being Nazis. And of course, that's the point when we go through the looking glass. Hey, one thing I really did enjoy.
Can I rewind a little bit here? You actually, was it just a Twitter exchange you had with Godwin?
Yeah,
or did you actually interview him?
It was a Twitter exchange with Godwin.
Did he get angry with you?
No, he enjoyed it. It was great. It was like, hey, you're the greatest. You came up.
You see, if I was doing that, if I was in a social media argument with Godwin, I would try to get him to call me Hitler.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the problem is it was a friendly exchange. But yes, absolutely. You do want to get Godwin to do that. That's so meta. It's beautiful. So what I am enjoying is that Greta Thunberg, and and I didn't even realize, because I only like peripherally paid attention to her, some little kid that environmentalists were in love with. Even this past high holidays at the Reformed synagogue that I zoom into, they weren't very political, because as Milton Himmelfarb said, the Reform Judaism movement is like the Democratic Party with holidays, but they didn't really have any cause célèbre at that time. And if you recall, there wasn't any big deal, nothing going on. What were you going to do? Say Bidenomics is great, and even get laughed by the Democratic constituency in the high holiday audience. But they did have a sop to Greta Thunberg. And environmentalists, because that's something we could all agree on. Well, can we all agree that she's an anti-Semitic young bitch? I mean, she was in.
She's always creeped me out.
Yeah.
She just always reminded me of all the children on fascist propaganda posters.
Right.
She just had that look about her.
Now, so she was at a Palestinian rally in which she was yelling, "Crush Zionism." So I'm wondering, fortunately, I don't go to this Reform synagogue via Zoom, but once a year. And I got a feeling they're going to quietly jettison the complimentary references to Greta Thunberg next year. But yeah, and it's not such a surprise that she did that. I recommend reading National Review's Jeff Behar on her. He really takes the wood to her. I mean, which is, she is only still a teenager, but I mean, he's totally justified. And
is she still a teenager? She's got to be close to 20 by now.
Oh, okay. Maybe I don't really know.
Yeah, she just has one of those faces that she's always looked younger than she really is.
Here's the thing.
One of those faces that sitcoms used to love.
Okay.
Where it's like a 20-year, like Michael J. Fox, a 20-year-old playing a 12-year-old.
Right. And everybody in Mean Girls was 35, 40, and they were playing teenagers. Chris,
Exactly.
Our producer, says she's 20 right now. So here's the thing. I didn't realize she's autistic. I didn't know that about her. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
know
right.
That.
Which
I did.
mean,
well, I don't know if she is. She's on the spectrum, but I think they claim that just so that when you make fun of her, you can say, "Oh, what a big man making fun of a disabled girl."
No, I get it. But Larry David, if Larry David has taught us nothing else, it's that even people who are infirm somewhat can be a-holes, and he likes to make fun of them. Now, I wouldn't make fun of somebody in a wheelchair, but Larry David has managed to do that.
There was one of my favorite things in Arrested Development, whereas one of the guys fell in love with a girl who was special needs, but he didn't realize it because she had a British accent.
Well, wait a minute. That was what's her face? Huh?
Yeah, Michael, I believe, fell in love with.
No, Michael. But the woman was the great actress,
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron.
Yeah,
and they played that beautifully. I mean, it was great because I don't know how many episodes it went on, and then you didn't even realize till you saw it in flashback that everything she said was actually retarded. Okay.
I didn't want to say that word.
Well, that was the word they used. I think maybe back when in Arrested Development's first run, they could use that. But yeah, whatever, special needs.
Yeah, when there was a college fund set up for United African Americans, they used a word we're not allowed to use either.
Oh, okay, exactly. But here's the thing. So they made the great that Chris comes up with it. Her name was Rita Leeds, the mentally challenged woman that Michael falls in love with. And of course, because she's so beautiful, and you think that everything she says is profound. That's
the British accent. That's the British accent.
It's British accent and her beauty and in the simplicity. it was, it was just so profound and not idiotic, which in fact it actually was. So everything that she said. So
but what it reminded me of, when people talk glowingly about Europe, that's what it reminded me of, is that we just think that everybody in Europe is more sophisticated, they're more educated, they're more aware than we are in the United States, and that's what cracked me up about it. It's, yes, a British accent will fool you, so that much.
Well, what I love also is, because there's a lot of these British actors who do American accents, and like the guy House, Hugh Laurie, and then you hear his British accent, and it's not he sounds like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins, and it's wait a minute,
no, he actually does. Doctor. No, he does a really good sophisticated accent as well. We're watching right now. We're watching on YouTube. We're watching Wooster and Jeeves.
Oh, okay.
Which was yeah, check it out. It's very, very funny.
Okay, well, he's got a lot of range, and so and
I think the reason is why so many British actors can do American accents now is because they have American television.
Oh, they could just pick it up that way.
Right. 40 years ago, they couldn't do it because they were stuck on the BBC channels, and every time they did an American accent, all they could do was Texas.
Right. But, here's the thing. Of course, we, being so biased, we think we don't have accents. We think that we are, the norm, the standard, and then all of a sudden they're doing us. Whereas we could do whatever they say, any old day of the week.
I've got a great story about a girl I met. She was working as a nanny for a North Shore couple. And she was clearly Australian, but the North Shore couple, because they found her in London, didn't realize that she was Australian. They thought she had a British accent.
Yeah. No, I once had to fire an au pair who was from England. And, I was a little bit intimidated because she spoke very properly, but I had to fire her anyway. And did I feel like the ugly American. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
40-foot national Christmas tree took a little bit of a tumble on Tuesday after strong winds toppled it down just 2 days before that annual tree lighting ceremony with President Biden. And some conservatives on social media say this was a perfect metaphor for the current administration.
Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap, and yes,
went down quicker than Biden on the Air Force One steps.
Oh yeah. So it's all these little things; they all add up, and it doesn't look good for him in the polls. It's even worse than they expected. One of the things is they're not getting the youth vote. Part of their reason they're not getting it is because a lot of the youth vote apparently is informed by TikTok and believe. I mean, part of it is that he's seemingly on Israel's side, which some of the youth vote isn't, even though I think he's kind of wishy-washy on it. I love it that the Democrats are hoping the youth vote hasn't been counted correctly. That's what they're thinking. They're saying the polls rely on phones, which kids apparently don't use. And this is reminiscent to me of the polls showing that Dewey was ahead in 1948. The Democrats didn't have phones for the pollsters to call. So
the polls that caused Newsweek and Time to print their Madam President covers.
Oh well, yes, absolutely. Everybody's still shocked by it, including Trump. So
yeah, it's a friend of mine pointed out that you knew that Trump thought he lost because his victory, quote unquote, celebration was held at a Hilton.
Yeah, there you go.
You don't have it at the Hilton if you think it's going to be a true victory party.
Anyway, there still are the defenders of Biden. Like, our friend Joan Esposito was once a guest on this show. So, anytime you're a guest, I don't care what you are, Nazi, communist, it's you're okay with me. But Joan Esposito was tweeting that
boy, I thought when you told me he did the polar plunge, I thought it was an accident. I thought he might have fallen off the White House yacht or something.
No, so Joni says he does the polar plunge, and they show video of him doing the polar plunge, and he negotiated this ceasefire supposedly. But how much work do you think he actually did on the ceasefire? Like a minute? I mean, they're really trying too hard to show that he's fit, right?
Yeah.
And most Democrats agree that he isn't fit. So why the defense of him on those grounds? I mean, I just don't see that. Right.
It's well, the fact that they haven't released any Americans kind of is indicative of how much say he's really had in the negotiation.
Right.
I think.
Right. Hey, here's another little thought I had about this. So, yeah, to a lot of people, it's a bit weird that you've got like LGBTQ supporters of Hamas. And we understand they're siding with Hamas because they're all oppressed, right? But the LGBT people think that somehow if Hamas takes over, that LGBT people would avoid being thrown from rooftops because I guess they think that the Hamas can go through some sort of conversion therapy, which
either that or maybe they're people who've always wanted to try skydiving.
One or the other. But it's I mean, I remember Mike Pence and a lot of people in Indiana and elsewhere being poo-pooed because they believed in conversion therapy, and that's passe. I mean, passe. It's beyond passe. I mean, it's verboten. I mean, you can't believe in that.
Can't even say,
but they somehow believe in it, huh?
Oh, they believe in reverse conversion therapy, though. The community that they believe that they can convert Palestinians if they actually.
Sure, absolutely. Somehow they're going to be able to do that. And I also said, is it true that the guy who shot the Palestinians in Vermont was actually a Bernie supporter? I mean, I thought I read that somewhere, but I don't know what to believe anymore.
He kind of looked like him. He kind of looked like it. He kind of had a Unabomber aspect to him.
All right.
I don't know if you know. He looked a little not right in the head.
Yeah.
And it's and we're also assuming it was because they were Palestinians. I mean, we don't know really what happened.
Okay.
It's just the way it is. Is a Palestinian gets shot. People get shot every day, but if it's a Palestinian, all of a sudden, I mean, has to do with Israel.
Well, I would say there was a rebuttable presumption that it would have to do with Israel, but yeah, it is rebuttable. So Darren Bailey pivoting locally right now. He had a tweet the other day, and I guess he's running for. Is he running for the Senate or is he running for? What's he running for? Do you even know?
Cover.
But he's running, and he said all the nice things on a tweet. Maybe we have it here, maybe we don't. But I tweeted back to him. He didn't respond. I said, "Hey, I like talking to you. Remember when we did interview him? It was very nice." Oh, yeah. He says Joe Biden doesn't have the competence, and Pritzker doesn't have the courage. But when you elect President, real Donald Trump and me, we'll finish the wall, secure our border, and make our country safe once and for all. Like I said, I like talking to him. He seemed nice, but he is a loser. He's kind of like the love child of Pritzker and Dick Uihlein. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, Darren Bailey. Really, I guess maybe it is the Senate he's running for. I'm not really sure.
That sounds like he's running for governor. That's
again.
Yeah. Well,
again. So did you see there was a little stir, a contretemps, a kerfuffle? Melania was invited. Oh, he's still a senator. He never lost his seat. Well, he's a state senator. He's not the senator from Illinois, right? Okay. So anyway, Melania was invited. Rosalind Carter, with the big gesture, she wanted all the first ladies at her funeral.
She's no McCain. That's I'll have that.
I'm sorry.
Well, John McCain. John McCain. Right. He spent his last days on Earth disinviting people from his funeral.
No, I get that.
That's not a good way to go. I'm sorry. It's you can't be that
I saw an
bitter.
Onion headline, and now I can't remember it. It's just the other day, and the Onion has gone way left, like they're pro-Palestinian. But I did have to laugh. It was something like, and it shows like the bent over Jimmy Carter. Now it's really sick. It's something about Jimmy Carter starting to date again now. I mean, come on. I mean, hey, you can't go wrong with those hospice jokes. Anyway, but Melania was invited, and she was there, and they were dissing her because you see her sitting there, and she's got this like white and black check coat on while she's sitting there with the other first ladies who I think have their coats off. Well, all right, what's the Jimmy Carter thing? Jimmy Carter sprays a little cologne down the front of his pants before big first date. Okay, see, you know, I mean,
yeah, that's wrong. That's just wrong.
You know what? I think I'm getting too old. It's like, yeah, part of me was laughing, but part of me wasn't. I'm kind of like that little kid who has the Indian who dressed up as a Kansas City chief, and we'll get to that a little bit later. You know, the red side was okay, the red paint, but not the black paint. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Melania is there, and she did go to the funeral, and she's sitting there next to Michelle and Laura Bush, and I think Grover Cleveland's wife was still there, and she's still hot. But Laura Bush, they're sitting there, but she's got like this coat on, and she was criticized because you're supposed to wear black. Well, the thing is, she did have a black dress underneath, so I don't know if she took her coat off or not. Plus, somebody showed Hillary at George Bush's at Barbara Bush's funeral, and Hillary had a similar colored coat. I mean, pretty soon we're gonna get back to Pat Nixon's.
Well, do you remember? Do you remember the coat that Michelle wore on Memorial Day?
No,
it was a turquoise floral print. It was just hideous looking. It was a turquoise floral print with and she wore the belt on the outside. And it's just
gross.
When we said, that's kind of disrespectful to the people who gave their lives for the country, made the ultimate sacrifice, and it's like, oh, you're just a bunch of racists.
Yeah,
and
right.
was the comment.
Anyway, Melania gets criticized for that,
for gray rather than black.
Yeah, but it seems like she was just fine. Certainly, was the hottest former first lady there. That's the picture of Barbara Bush's funeral.
Oh, okay.
And Hillary's got this black and white check coat. But anyway, Melania, I mean, she's obviously,
whose funeral was that? Barbara Bush,
first lady. Yeah, probably the hottest first lady ever. But I did tweet that I thought she was a little dim. And my basis for that was, remember when she plagiarized Michelle Obama's speech and used it for her own speech at the convention? I mean, why would you do that?
Well, because she didn't write her own speech.
She speaks 6 languages, So.
No, she essentially what she did there was she sent a copy of that speech and to her writer and said, I want something like this. And the writer, either purposely or not understanding her, because she doesn't speak that good of English, just put that into the speech. And,
I see. Blame it on the writer. Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. I get it. But anyway, that's what happened with that. Now then, here's no excuse for not knowing your sources of a speech. You see the secretary, and a lot of people made a big deal out of this already. The Secretary of Education, Cardona is his name. He actually said something to the effect of, as Ronald Reagan said, I think it was President Reagan
that was hilarious.
He said, we're from the government, we're here to help. Well, that's exactly the opposite, of course, of what Reagan said. I think it was Reagan who said the most feared person in America is the Secretary of Education with a microphone. Yeah, that's what Miguel Cardona did there. His bad.
It just proves to me that Democrats do not understand sarcasm. It just like they went for years saying that Trump said in public that he wanted Russia to get Hillary's emails, and Trump makes people make jokes and they don't get them.
Yeah. I think he just misquoted Reagan. But why would Reagan ever have said anything like that? I mean, don't you know that what Reagan stood for? I mean, that was the conservative.
Oh, no, he did say he did say that. Reagan did say that.
No, he said the most, but he prefaced it by saying the most terrifying words that you can hear in America are, and then it's cutting off half the quote. The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
Well, they're good at cutting off half the quote too.
Well, sure.
Protest peacefully down to the Capitol was omitted.
Right. Anyway, all right. We have one quick minute left here in this segment, or 30 seconds. Somebody was saying they're bringing back cursive writing in some places because they teach them in school, because there's people that can't even sign their names anymore. So, are you in favor or are you again cursive writing? I couldn't stand cursive writing or any kind of writing because we had these fountain pens and I was a lefty and the ink would smear as I would go along the page. And probably is the reason I didn't get into Harvard. So, but what do you think? What do you think of cursive writing? Bringing it back.
There's very little need for it anymore.
Sure.
It's your signature is one thing, but who even signs stuff anymore? Usually you just click I agree.
Exactly. And you sign your life away. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap.
The mother of the young Kansas City Chiefs fan accused of racism is now setting the record straight and adding an interesting twist to this story. The boy wore a headdress and painted his face red and black to last weekend's Chiefs game against the Raiders at Arrowhead Stadium. Karen Phillips, senior writer for the liberal outlet Deadspin, was quick to call on the NFL commissioner to denounce the 5-year-old boy as racist. And he later doubled down when social media users pointed out that half his face was painted red, i.e. the team's two colors. And unsurprisingly, that writer didn't have all the facts about the boy's background. So his mom took it upon herself to educate him, writing, quote, "This has nothing to do with the NFL. Also, CBS showed him multiple times, and this is the photo people chose to blast to create division. He is Native American. Just stop already."
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. So I love when people double down on something that they should never have even started. Done it myself many, many times. But so this kid, when you see the original picture, all you see, he's, a cute little kid in a Chiefs headdress, Kansas City Chiefs jersey, and the right side of his face is in blackface. So this guy, Karen J. Phillips, is he for Deadspin? I can't remember what publication. Yeah, it is Deadspin, the publication that's going to be put out of business as a result of this. But I don't think they have any money anymore. So, and it turns out that not only did he have like red on the other side of the face and was just trying to look like an Indian, but according to his mother, Elizabeth Warren, he is actually part Indian.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if Indians should be allowed to desecrate themselves that way. But anyway, this Phillips was trying to the initial backlash against him. He was trying to respond to it, and he was saying, after getting one of the biggest quote ratios I've ever seen. This is another guy. Karen Phillips deleted his tweet defending his garbage story. Oh yeah, the tweet saying defending this story was, "For the idiots in my mentions who are treating this as some harmless act because the other side of his face was painted red, I could make the argument that it makes it even worse. Y'all are the ones who hate Mexicans but wear sombreros on Cinco." Well, I mean, is it okay if a Mexican wears a sombrero on Cinco? So, anyway, there you go.
There was a comic I know that actually had a job at a Mexican restaurant wearing a sombrero that had chips and salsa on it. He was a little person and he'd walk around the bar so everyone could have chips and salsa.
Oh God! So anyway, I hate to turn this into an Eddie Schwartz technical workshop, but Tim, how much time have we gone through on this segment right now? Because
I don't know. I forgot to start my clock.
I forgot to start my stopwatch. So Chris, what are we at about the? Chris doesn't even know either.
Oh well.
I didn't start
hopefully we'll figure it out sometime.
Yeah, I think we're in about 2 minutes in, and
my favorite take on the kid was I think it was the Babylon Bee said kid accused of culturally appropriating Elizabeth Warren and wearing Trudeau face.
Okay, there you go. So I'm on a par with Elizabeth Warren with the Babylon Bee. Speaking of Elizabeth Warren, she got herself into a little bit of trouble because she's worried about the sandwich shop monopoly. Apparently, there's some merger of sandwich shops, and she said, we don't need another private equity deal that could lead to higher food prices for consumers. The FTC is right to investigate whether the purchase of Subway by the same firm that owns Jimmy John's and McAllister's Deli creates a sandwich shop monopoly, emphasis added by me. And she was ridiculed, and justifiably so, for saying that. As far as monopolies go, I think Mediterranean and Baltic are a better monopoly than that, a more dangerous one.
Or how about the National Education Association? How about that monopoly? Huh?
Well, no, we can't. No, that's justifiable. This guy, I think is his name Verbruggen from National Review. He tweeted a map. He lives in the Green Bay area, and showed how many sandwich shops there are, like even in the Green Bay area, which, they've got a National Football League franchise, but they're not that big. Tons of all these shops. And so we're in no worry of being taken over by a monopoly. But there were like 3 Subway shops within a short run by Aaron Jones of the Packers. So it's just it's ludicrous.
It's actually nuts. Subway got in trouble a few years back because they were
because of Jared, of course, but that's another story. Yeah.
Well, right. Sure. Well, that ended the footlong sales.
Oh, sure, no question about that. Yeah, right. There were no more jokes about that. Yes, I'm sorry.
But Subway got in trouble. No, that they were just giving franchises to anyone. That they weren't, other franchisors, I think that's the proper term, would make sure that there were only so many within a so many mile radius, whereas Subway was giving them to anyone. So it's like
without
Starbucks.
Any territory, a territory,
no
territory.
There was no territory sold with the franchises. You want one, you got one.
Didn't they even allow a franchisee to raise his leg and mark his territory for a 2-block radius? Oh, boy. Well, okay, let's turn to something even more ridiculous. Whenever I see Rob Reiner, meathead, says that there's this is one of those tweets that I don't even bother reading past the tweet itself to see, link to the full story, that there were 4 assassins of JFK. And I'm thinking, since Rob Reiner is always bought into the fact that Trump was involved in Russiagate, and he was one of the bitter enders on that he probably thinks that Trump had something to do with it. But I must tell you, at that time, Trump was just 17. You know what I mean? So I don't think he really had anything to do with that. But yeah, according to this story.
Well, he was at that point. Trump was busy tailing Ted Cruz's dad.
Right. But did you even bother to read this story? Apparently, he told Soledad O'Brien. I mean, there's a credible journalist. But Rob Reiner believes that there were 4 assassins. What's his story? And I know you love all these things too. You believe in a conspiracy, right?
Oh no, we covered that last week.
Yeah, I know,
my conspiracy is not really a conspiracy. My conspiracy is that someone in the Secret Service had a gun misfire.
Oh yeah, went off by accident. Yeah, and blew. Yeah, right. That would be interesting. But do you know what Rob Reiner's theory was?
I do not, but I think I think what he's doing, I think he's trying to get some free publicity for the sequel to Spinal Tap.
Yeah, I had heard that Spinal Tap was so that's the conspiracy, that this is that he's just trying to get
turning it up. Yeah. Most people think that there's 3 gunmen. He's turning it up to 4.
Right. And also, I was going to do a turning it up joke that somehow the sequel is going to be an 11, and I don't think so. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah,
right?
That's not. Yeah, it's going to be. It's usually good when they do a sequel like that. It's just a rehash of the same old jokes that everybody's been quoting.
Doesn't
for the
move
past.
The story. Nobody cares about the story anyway. So I don't actually get it.
Maybe a new album for the band. I don't know.
Speaking of conspiracy, so Rich Roper was responding to a conspiracy. Have you heard this conspiracy that JFK Jr. wasn't really dead, and now he's going to research? I guess this is a QAnon thing. They're obsessed with him. That JFK Jr. was going to be Donald Trump's running mate. So
Well, I don't know
yeah.
why they would go to all that trouble to stage, because if you remember when JFK Jr. died,
Yeah.
they did had a diving mission to find him, to find the
Yeah.
wreckage of the plane, find his body, and then they recovered it, had a funeral, and then buried him at sea. So it was kind of a lot of work, just
really
where they
much
could
ado
just
about nothing. I, of course, was really mad about when his plane was missing, because the British Open was going on that weekend and it was on ABC, and they preempted the coverage of that round of the British Open just to have Barbara Walters giving the same points over and over and over again, and in those days they couldn't shift the British Open over to ESPN. Nowadays they do something like that. But I mean, I had to listen to this. It wasn't like they were even advancing the story at all. Now there is an interesting thing. Florence King, the late writer for National Review, did think that JFK Jr. disappeared from public view for a while he was a young man. And when he came back, he didn't have some of those awkward Kennedy facial features. He was a little bit better chiseled, that maybe he had, maybe he had some work done. Now that's a possibility, right?
Oh gosh, that happens all the time, especially when they have political aspirations. I mean, look what they did. Look what they did to Chelsea. They removed all her web hubble.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. I confess, I actually watched Dolly Parton at halftime of this game with the sound off, so I didn't even hear the funny lines. My line about it was Dolly does Dallas, and that was anyway. What did you think of Dolly Parton? I mean, 77 years old. Looks well, firm and high as
well. Well, it's a very clever. I'm weird about this. It's a very clever job they did. She's obviously got a corset on to suck it all in, and it's flesh colored, and so it looks like you're actually seeing her torso. They put a little bit of netting in front of it. You'll notice that's not really her belly button. They have a star, a sequin star there.
Wait? Did you read this somewhere? I didn't even know that.
No, I know that. Bob Mackey used to do the same thing with Cher. You just
know that. Well, I actually was thinking, when she turned to the side and everything like that, you barely see it. They never really showed the posterior as much as you'd normally expect.
No, that's a skin toned corset she has.
No,
on.
all right. This was a moment where I missed the late Howard Stern. He is not around anymore, right? So my favorite bit of his was when he and his obnoxious colleagues, speaking in the absolute most squawking goose New York accents, would clinically and Krista, she hangs on the set while walking and never shows her backside. Yeah, I mean, you can see a little bit of it, but anyway, they would clinically dissect a Playboy Playmate wannabe. Yeah, you need 1 inch off your thighs, breast lift, and they take away whatever residual lust I ever had for any fold out. So that's the kind of treatment I would have liked to see for her.
Well, with Photoshop now they actually can do that, and there's actually filters on TikTok that you can actually do it to yourself.
Well, I was just wondering if she had like $1 million facelift. And how many current Dallas Cowboys?
Well, I think that's why. I'm sorry. No, I think that's why they didn't show her backside, because that's where the big knot of skin is.
It's all tied in a bow there. Well, I was wondering how many current cheerleaders could have fit into her cast iron hot pants. So, it's same thing. Now, I'm wondering if you put Shakira's, J-Lo's, and Dolly's tushies end to end, would it be enough for a first down? Not that I'm complaining. Anyway, all right. Hello, Dolly. So, speaking of cheesecake, did you see this about the Cheesecake Factory? Apparently, you have a Cheesecake Factory in a mall, that mall is doing well. It's like it's a signal that the presence of a Cheesecake Factory restaurant in a mall is an indicator of the mall's financial health. About 93% of loans backed by malls with a Cheesecake Factory are current on their payments, compared that's around 72% of those without. Yeah, so it's a leading.
So no, what is that? Is that the Cheesecake have better business sense than other leasers at the mall?
It's just more high end or whatever. It's something like that.
Or does the Cheesecake Factory actually bring people into the mall?
Well, probably both. So one of my sons, I had to help him study to be a waiter there. You know, and all the types of omelets that they had were tougher to commit to memory than things like the holder in due course rule that I had to remember and then throw up onto the bar exam. Omelets are a tastier vomit. And it was really, really hard. They had so many, too many offerings as well. But it's interesting that's indicative of a mall's success. Speaking of malls and their restaurants, I love this WGN series of tweets over the weekend. They must have let a kid get a hold of their tweet machine, because one of them was, "Why does Olive Garden give mints after meals?" It's one of those tweets that I didn't bother to read the story on, but I assume it's because your breath is awful after all those breadsticks and the pasta. But,
the all-you-can-eat garlic breadsticks. Yeah, absolutely.
But here's the thing. I used to like Olive Garden, contrary to elite opinion, but now for some reason it's just blah to me. I can't believe my taste has become more discriminating. That's exactly not. That is not what happened.
When Olive Garden first came out, they actually had chefs at all the restaurants, and they actually had recipes that were regional. The first Olive Garden was in Florida, near Disneyland, where they would get people from all over the country, and they would
knew you'd know the answer to this.
Oh, absolutely. And what they would do is they would actually judge people's tastes and they had different recipes per region. That Chicago style Italian food is not the same as like Philadelphia style Italian food. We have different tastes.
Well, they would bland. It's so bland now.
I'm getting there.
Yeah. All right.
What they found though is that they did not have the ability to maintain the quality at all these different restaurants with all these different recipes, that it was too expensive. So what they found is that by doing a generic, rather than having people cook the sauce from scratch in all the restaurants, which is what they originally did, they found if they just did it at their industrial centralized kitchen and then shipped it to all the Olive Gardens, that they would have consistency, rather that they had inconsistency because the chef wasn't always on the ball. Sometimes he would just throw everything together.
I understand.
So that they valued consistency over quality. And
this is a lot more than I wanted to know about a simple throwaway thing about the mints.
I could keep going on.
I understand. I mean, I've had Olive Garden a couple of times in the last few years, and it's like, did I just get a refined sense of taste or something? Because I don't even like it.
Nope,
anymore.
It's not the same. It's not the same as the original Olive Garden.
If I find that I'm playing a golf ball or refuse to play a golf ball with the slightest scuff mark, then I know I've turned into a snot. But I'm on red alert. Oh, here's another WGN. Love some of their tweets. They had a tweet about, is it legal or illegal to eat roadkill? And can I legally eat roadkill in Illinois? And
only if you take a breath mint.
Yeah, right. Sure, absolutely. From Olive Garden. If I'm no attorney, well, actually, I am, but I believe that if it's under 50% of your fault that it became a roadkill, then you're allowed to eat it. So,
even if it's endangered, I mean, that's the question. What do you do? What do you do if you hit something endangered?
Well, I mean, it's already dead, so it's. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? At least it becomes part of you, and then maybe you get on the endangered species list.
Do you remember that story a few years back that somebody made like a Native American headdress for Hillary, and somebody in Hillary's camp found out that it had eagle feathers in it?
Oh,
do you remember this?
No.
And the woman was arrested.
Really? I'll tell you,
giving Hillary a gift.
I would have loved it had she worn it to Rosalind Carter's funeral. She would have been very colorful. Okay. I am so see. Here's the thing: you can tell me anything. For all I know, you just made up the whole Olive Garden story. I got fooled twice by hoax tweets this week. One was that Megan Rapinoe went bankrupt and lost like $100 million. I think the key should have been that they said it was $100 million, but it was from a so-called satiric website. Here's the problem. It's bad satire. I mean, it's not really funny. So that's why I believed it. And another one was that Bill Maher had thrown Whoopi Goldberg off his set. They'd done a segment and it was so bad and so anti-Israel that he just said this segment will never see the light of day. That didn't happen either. And I believed both of those. So next thing somebody could tell me that Sports Illustrated is using AI to write stories now, and I'd be so credulous I'd believe it. Actually, that did happen. But yeah. So I'm sorry you didn't fall for those, did you?
Oh, I didn't know that Sports Illustrated was using AI.
Yeah, but this Rapinoe and the Bill Maher thing. I mean, I guess I wanted to believe it so much that I fell for that.
I've seen some of Bill Maher's guests, and that should have been thrown off. Oh, so I can't imagine how outrageous you would have to be to get tossed off the Bill Maher show.
Right. Now, I was watching the ABC version of the Monday Night Football game the other day, and they had a commercial for the Golden Bachelor. This is a show, and ABC,
coming up to the finale on that.
And oh well, no. So you know this. Well, maybe you could tell me this, and I'll believe it because I'm so credulous. Does the bride of the Golden Bachelor get a golden shower? Is what I'd like to know. No, all right. Tell us about the finale that they're coming up to.
It's just the Golden Rose. He's finally gonna pick one of the lucky cougars to marry. So.
Well, I mean, so he's old. Is he old too, or are they cougars and he's young?
They're all
old. And so, what is the point?
They're all too old to be in the show like that. Let's put it that way. Every single one of them is too old to be in a show like that.
Well, you want to watch that show for some reason. So, what's the attraction?
I don't want to watch the show. It's just ABC wants me to watch the show, so they keep running. I watch Weekly World News with David Muir every night.
Oh, okay,
and they want me to stick around for the Golden Bachelor. So
so
I see all the promos. That's all I've ever seen, and that's all I can think of every time I see it.
Do the women, have Golden Globes? What it
is here's a dirty little secret. Is all the women that fell in love with the Bachelor when it first aired.
Yeah.
Are now in their golden years.
Right. So
so they don't want to watch young people anymore.
Yeah.
So now they have to. That's how long stupid show's been running.
I think older women are attractive. I just don't think that I'd want to watch, a hookup.
No, exactly. Not only that, it's like, oh, is he going to pick me? You're too old to be worrying about that. Move on with your life. You've got grandchildren. Do something else.
I mean, you should be figuring out, do I take Medicare Advantage Part A? All right. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.